Hello and welcome to the City's Power Partnerships tool for member councils called Power Analytics. This is a web tool created to help councils like yours track and manage their energy efficiency and resource reduction projects, helping you visualise the financial, energy and carbon savings data from your project portfolio. This is an example of the first time you would log into your Power Analytics account for your council. There are probably no projects or data as it's the first time you've logged in. You can see that on the dashboard that I have $0 invested or saved. Zero is basically everywhere on the page. The only place on the page with numbers is the recently added to library section, which shows projects that have most recently been added to the project library from other councils. So, in order to get started, the first place I should go when I'm first starting my Power Analytics account is the institution profile page, which shows your council's name. You'll also see a message if there's required boxes that have not been filled in. The message says your institution is currently invalid and cannot save if the issues highlighted in red aren't resolved. This means unless you fill in these boxes, nothing else will be saved on this page. If it hasn't already been filled in, I will fill in my council's current population size. I can hover over anything in Power Analytics to get a tip about what's needed in that box. You will note that the majority of users here are universities. Then, adding in a discount rate is required, which is used to calculate net present value, which is a financial metric for your projects. If you're not the finance person for your council and you don't know this number, generally somewhere between 6 to 8% is a good place to start. If possible, find out what the discount rate is for your council so that your projects in Power Analytics can be compared to other investments. Here you can see the institution profile has assumptions and other pieces of information about your institution. The city, state and your postcode is needed here, so Power Analytics can calculate carbon emissions from your electricity. It uses the grid to see where you are, what your grid is using, and what your grid mix is. While not covered in this video, Power Analytics recently added the ability to save customised emission factors that you can input and apply to specific projects. It's not required, but if possible, you can put in building floor size in square metres. It's useful to have a reference in Power Analytics on your size. You can enter the financial year or start of year of when you want to start tracking projects in Power Analytics. It could be quite a while ago, so feel free to make this as early as you would like back to the year 2000. Everything in Power Analytics auto-saves, so as soon as I enter that, I can scroll down and see all fiscal years. In my case, I think I'll make this 2014. You can also customise your fiscal year to the start month, which means you can customise what your fiscal year calendar also looks like. Just go over to what this key financial metrics section is. This will keep track of all the expenditures that you spend on your projects and then the annual financial savings as well as rebates you receive each fiscal year. You'll be able to see what these total up to every year. Editing passwords. You can also edit your password if you have been given a default password. Click on your name in the upper right corner and enter the current password and add a new password. Confirm this password and then click Save. Entering a proposed project. The first thing you want to do to get started in Power Analytics is to enter your project data. This is where any council projects are housed, including your own projects. I currently have none as I have just started using the tool. I will go ahead and add in my first project. Again, these red boxes are required items. I will enter in the name of the project here. I will call it my new lighting project. It is a proposed project for me. There are 3 status levels in Power Analytics. Proposed projects are ones that you are thinking about funding but have not decided on just yet. Maybe you're looking at the numbers and what the potential returns on investment would be. In progress projects, that means you have decided to fund. Perhaps you've already funded it and it's just under construction, but it has not been in a savings period yet. And a completed project has finished construction, installation, and is in the middle of or past the savings period. You'll see with this project in the project library, it's required for each project to have a project type associated with it. We have 14 project types for you to choose from lighting, HVAC projects to renewables, even information, technology and computer software that can reduce energy use. There's plenty of options on here. For this project, it's the lighting project, and it's a lighting retrofit and its subtype. We have 120 subtypes in total, depending on which type of project you choose. I have to click Add for this to save, and then I can enter my proposed or actual cost for the project. For this proposed project, I'm estimating it's going to cost about $25,000. I have the option to add in what I'm going to be saving from this project, but I'll wait a second since it's a proposed project. I don't need to add this in quite just yet. I'm going to the project that I'm going to be installing in early 2018, and the lifespan of the project is how long I want to be measuring savings for the project. How long do I expect these new light bulbs to last? This can always be changed. Anything on these projects can be edited. So I click Create Project and I'm brought to the project details page for this new project that's just been created. On the page, I can select the project lead, so that's the person at my council who was really leading the way and doing most of the project management. The only people that you'll get a choice for in this drop-down menu are the people who have Power Analytics accounts. So right now, I'm the only user in my Power Analytics account, so I'm the only eligible project lead. You'll see these green boxes for each time the project auto-saves a change that you've just made. At any time, I can make more changes in this project. You can add a building to your project to indicate where it happened, and there are a number of different options for the building type associated with that building. This one is a gymnasium. Then there is the year that the building was originally made. In order to add the building, click the green Add button. So, I still have zeros on this page, since I have not added anything about what this project could potentially save. This is where I can start estimating that, or maybe I have some projections from people in my facilities department or outside consultants. From this lighting project, I'm going to save a resource, and it's likely that that would be electricity in this case. There are many other options: steam, natural gas, waste and water. I'll start with electricity and I'll be saving it in kilowatt hour units, and my general average kilowatt hour price is 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm estimating that annually I'm going to save about 27,000 kilowatt hours each year. So I added that in, and I can see that I'm already generating a payback time, a return on investment. I'm also going to add in another type of savings. You can also add multiple types of savings for a project, as well as a multiple project type and multiple buildings. I'm going to add in maintenance savings. This is something not everybody uses, but maybe because of a project such as a lighting upgrade, you don't have to install new lights as much as these light bulbs last longer, which often happens with LEDs. So maybe I want to show my savings from labour hours of workers. Potentially, it's saving me 100 of those hours each year. Adding that really changes my savings in my financial metrics. If your project does not save on any resources, maybe it was a behaviour change project where it's hard to track exactly what was saved, but you wanted to have the project in Power Analytics even though there was no savings associated with it, you can always write that in here. This here says required when there are no resources tracked. Here you would write exactly the reasoning behind no savings. As you scroll down, you can see the measurement and verification methodology section, which tells us and your team how you perform the measurement and verification on this data, how you decided that those would be the electricity or maintenance savings. Usually, this goes for energy. There are 4 different options as outlined by the International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol. If you want to learn more about the 4 options, hover and click, which brings you to the link explaining those 4 options. Assuming I already know these options and I looked at utility bills before and after I did my project, I'd choose option C, explaining more in the notes section. The annual tracking data table pulls it all together for all resources I already entered. You may notice that energy here is recorded, and even though I entered it in as kilowatt hours, and that happens so, if you're tracking multiple types of energy, such as electricity and natural gas, it can all come together in this table. So I'm seeing my electricity price and energy saved from those items. Then I'll be able to see my annual financial savings from this project. This is where I'm projecting my start date of the project in January 2018. And then my lifespan that I had indicated was around 10 years, meaning the table now has 10 rows. You can see that each row ends at the end of each fiscal year to show me how much money and energy I saved for that year. For the first row, it was the only partial fiscal year, as my project started mid-year, and that's why there's less financial savings for that year as well as the last year. Right now, all the savings are uniform, but perhaps next June, once my project begins, if I see actual day-to-day electricity prices change from year to year, I can update this. Maybe the next year I can see both energy prices changing, and maybe I'm using sub-meters and I saw more savings than I expected that year. This updates my financial savings for the year, my energy saved, and even updates and changes to my financial metrics, as well as the savings over time. These savings over time show my financial savings and energy savings, along with carbon emissions abated, and also shows that average annually. This middle column is total today. In this case, the start of the project isn't until January, which is a few months away from now. So I have zero savings. This project hasn't started yet. Then this column is throughout the lifetime of the actual project itself. I have a 10-year lifespan, and over that time I'm expecting to save over $51,000 and 224 metric tonnes of equivalent emissions. If I wanted to up that lifespan and track this project to 12 years, it would be instantly changed for some of the areas which have these numbers. I would see higher lifetime financial savings, energy and carbon, and even change on my return on investment. This payback period shows how long it would take to repay my project cost based on the savings, and that would be around 4.75 years. If I change my annual savings, those numbers update, and all of a sudden my project is paying back quicker and I have a higher return on investment. So, lifetime return on investment is calculated by lifetime savings minus project cost divided by project cost. The way we annualise this in Power Analytics is by dividing that number by the lifespan, your annual return on investment. Other financial metrics are net present value, internal rate of return. Those can be used to compare this project to other investments at your council to show how successful they are in comparison and simplify their financial performance. This unit cost per metric tonne of emissions abated is the project cost divided by your lifetime carbon emissions saved. You can see how much each metric tonne can cost your council to abate. If this project actually ended up getting funded, I would change it to in progress. It was approved today and we're going to start installation next month. Now I'm going to spend money on this project with a project transaction. I'll add in my project expenditure, which I spent on materials and labour. You can always add in multiple project expenditures, assuming there are multiple for a single project. If my project ended up costing a little more than expected, perhaps $28,000, I click Add and that saves. Now my project cost is updated with my new expenditure. Eventually I might want to add in a rebate to indicate that my power provider or government rebate program rewarded me. This wouldn't be entered until those funds were actually received. A rebate updates the project to reduce the project cost, and it makes the return on investment and payback period better. Some projects might not have any project cost. Maybe they were behavioural projects where there was no cost needed, or something that was just a change in the system, such as updating thermostats which didn't require any money. If that's the case, just write that in the notes under the project cost section so that others can see that. This would also be required if you have no project costs for a completed project. So now my project is all filled out. At any time, I can generate a PDF based on this project, so that would give me a PDF that looks exactly like this project details page and would even include a bar graph on the bottom which details my annual financial savings from the project. Generating this PDF takes several minutes, so you can click Generate and continue navigating around Power Analytics. And you'll be emailed notification when the PDF is ready within 5 minutes, which is great for presenting to others or preparing internal reports too. You can also choose to archive your project at any time. Archiving a project is really putting it in a different silo. If you have 2 ways in which you fund energy efficiency projects at your council, maybe you have a facilities account budget and you also have a small separate sustainability fund, and you don't want those finances and metrics to be tracked together. So you want to archive to mean that this project is in your sustainability fund by clicking Archive and OK. And archive can mean anything for your council. Perhaps it means that it's an old project done prior to the fiscal year of 2000. So I archive this project. For every project, you also have the option to write notes to communicate with your colleagues, and you can also make those notes visible to others when they are able to see your project in the library, or you can choose to make them hidden to only those in your council. I can also add attachments to all of my projects, such as PDFs, Excel spreadsheets and photos, which are a great way to help keep track of requests for proposals associated with the project or any outside data I might have. Again, you can make those hidden to just your council. I'm going to go back to my project page now to show the difference between a proposed or in progress project, just like the one we just added, and adding in a completed project. I'll add a new completed project. We'll call it HVAC Upgrade for Science Centre, for which there are more requirements. You must have a description of at least 50 characters. You also have to have a project type for each project. Now, it's likely that you have the actual cost for a completed project since you already spent the money on it. You also have to have resources that are tracked, or if it does not have resources tracked because it does not have any savings, then you can explain why this project does not track resources. Assuming I do have savings, you can enter that. My project was approved in the past and installation dates and completion dates are also known. The lifespan is also known too. Now I have filled in all the required fields needed to create a completed project. Again, all this can be edited if you have different numbers to what you originally put in. In the example of my project cost being the same as my rebate, in that case it turns my project cost into 0 and I have an invalid cost. I'm prompted to enter an explanation for why my project costs $0. Now I have more than one project and the filters that I can use to go between them. So you can see here that there are averages and totals based on all of my projects. Those averages and totals adjust depending on what projects I'm filtering for. With your list of projects down here, you're always able to filter them alphabetically by highest to lowest return on investment or payback period. Any of the green headers you can use to sort. You can also use the filters to search for projects of a specific type from certain buildings, archived or not, with specific status levels, saving a specific resource like energy or water, and you can also use the sliders to see projects installed in certain fiscal years, projects with specific ranges of costs, and a specific range of payback period. You can see that some projects have an attachment which is indicated, or an invalid project that you still have to fill in more data for. Your dashboard with data. Next, I'm going to navigate back to the dashboard, which now shows that I've added some project data and we're starting to show some things on the page. This invested or saved for my dollars for sustainability will indicate again how much I've spent on projects and how much I've saved to date. This save to date is completed projects that are not archived. The completed project that I've just entered, I have not invested any money in, as I've showed that there is $0 project cost as the rebate refunded everything. So that's why I'm seeing $0 invested. But my project just started the other day and I've already saved $128. This would look much different and have an actual number for invested if you actually had a project cost of an amount above zero. And if you've had the project for a couple of months, you'd have a longer bar showing saved. For my archive project, this is the project that I said was in progress and I marked it as archived. Maybe it's from another outside fund and I put the expenditure of that project so it shows that I spent $18,000 on that archive project in total. But I haven't saved any money yet from that project because I'd indicated that it would start in January. This will look more complex with more projects, and it's a great way to see the aggregate invested versus saved from all of your regular and archive projects, and really see what the ratio looks like and how well you've been doing in comparison. The project portfolio is another way to see aggregate data. Archive projects would not appear in this project portfolio area. Those become separate, and this shows how many projects I have funded to date, and it also shows that completed projects that was not archived. It shows for all of my completed projects what my average return of investment is, my average payback period. The reason I'm seeing zeros here is because my completed project has a zero project dollar cost. As soon as I change that, I would see averages and it will show me the amount reduced to date. And here, from the one completed project, I can already see that I've saved 3 metric tonnes of carbon dioxide. I can also see the last modified projects of my own council, which are the 2 that I added in today. The People tab shows where I can add in new users from my council, and users can have a variety of statuses put in their email and title. Primary users can edit anything in Power Analytics and can also add new users. The editor can edit anything but cannot add new users. Each council can have 2 accounts under the free plan provided by the Cities Power Partnership, and additional accounts are available if you want to upgrade. Using the Power Analytics library. The library shows the total number of completed projects from other councils using Power Analytics, and this is completed projects only. Only your completed projects will be automatically included inside the project library. These are the averages for these projects, and if you scroll down you can see it's quite long. It's much easier to just filter through to search for specific projects. All the same filters and more are here as were in the projects page, so you can just search for a keyword. If I search for wind, I'm able to see some window projects, some projects about wind power, and even some that are just about wind in their description. I can also use filters, and I can filter by the institution. The University of Michigan here is an example of an institution that has lots of projects in Power Analytics. So here I can see all of their projects and averages, and I can use project types as my filter. If I uncheck all and I only want to see the HVAC projects at the University of Michigan, there's 50 of those. I can also filter to only see projects that's happening inside certain buildings. Maybe I just want to see academic buildings. Again, you can filter by resource type, cost of the project, payback period, projects with attachments, or projects that do not have attachments. You can filter for a certain region of the country if you want to see institutions in your region of the country especially. Institutions from a certain sector, public or private universities, institutions or councils of certain sizes. Some Power Analytics users only have partial library access. They are only able to use these filters and see the projects and see their return on investments and payback periods, and again be able to sort highest to lowest return on investment, highest to lowest payback period alphabetically. But they are also not actually able to click into the project. Those that have Power Analytics Unlimited and full library access are able to click into any of these library projects and see exactly what happened. See who the project lead was and the institution or council. You can even generate a PDF based on their project if you wanted to show it to someone else at your council. You can see the description of the project and all the data you'd be able to see in your own project too, but you cannot edit any of their data, of course. You can also open any attachments that they have chosen to share. Creating reports with your data. Another thing I wanted to share about Power Analytics was the Reports tab, only available to Power Analytics Unlimited users. This is where you can create graphs, charts and tables based on your own projects, only your own projects. There are energy savings over time, and here you can see that it's stacked over 2 projects. I can always get rid of one of those projects, and I can see that in a table version as well. I can download this table to CSV to see it in Microsoft Excel, or I can download the image of this graph. There are a lot of different options. If you wanted to see the water savings graph, you can click on it. I can see financial savings by various project types and also show it as a pie graph. Again, I have no financial savings for my lighting project just yet. I can see carbon savings, annual cash flows, and also see a scatter plot of all my projects together, so I can compare the annual energy savings to the return on investment for projects. And I can see where all of my projects lie on that graph. Some of them have a higher return on investment and lower energy savings, while some have very low return on investment and high energy savings. If I click on multiple, I can create a report with multiple graphs on it and put those all together. Click print to print it out or print to PDF. These graphs look uninteresting right now since I have only one completed project. They would look more interesting with more completed projects. You can also make graphs based on a specific project. So this graph is for just one single project, for that HVAC project that was entered in. Back on the institution profile, I can show exactly where those expenditures that I'd entered in for all those projects went. In the institution profile, under key financial metrics, I'm able to see all of the expenditures and rebates added up together. I can see here that I've already had an expenditure and rebate today. And it shows me that what my savings will be from the completed project during this fiscal year. Because I had a $0 project cost, expenditure and rebate cancel each other out, and I have $3,700 in savings that year, so I ended up looking positive. Need help? If at any time you need help with Power Analytics, just click on this Need Help icon. You can also download the Power Analytics guide from there and look at the table of contents and narrow down what you are looking at from there. And of course, if you have any questions or feedback, you can email cpp@climatecouncil.org.au. That's it for me today. I hope you've learned a little bit about how to enter in your Power Analytics data. Happy to help in the future, and thanks a lot. Enjoy using Power Analytics.